Hi everybody, this is Osprey from MyChartCoach.com, and in this video we're going to take a look at mainly at the blockchain cryptocurrency related stocks in this video. And so first up we're going to look at DSS. This was the big winner on Friday. So the stock market got pummeled on Friday, but you had DSS close up 41%. It did have good news. They won their appeal for they have a favorable ruling against a patent infringement against Apple, and so the share price soared on Friday, and so it did run all the way up to $2, and it did pull back. There was some profit taking, but it still managed to close above the 50-day simple moving average. So that was very bullish. That's exactly what the bulls wanted to see. As you can see here, it broke out of this channel. So there was this multi-week sideways channel, and there was a break above on Friday, and then it closed above this 150 level, which is a key level to stay above. Okay, that's the closing price here in January, and then up here at $2, you're looking at the prior channel back here, and so it's going to need to break back above that channel to head higher. 180 is another big level. So going forward, what you're looking for, if you were holding this over the weekend, is you want to see it stay above that 50-day simple moving average. As long as it stays above 141, it'll remain in play. If it pulls back below 141, you have the 100-day simple moving average at 134, so that's a big support level to hold. If that breaks, then the candles would work back into the bands. Friday's candle did close above the upper Bollinger Band, so the candles could work back into the bands, and then EMA4 at 130 would be the key level to hold. You want to see it stay above the top of this channel. It needs to stay above 125. But really, for this to be a good play going forward, is you want to see it stay above that 140 level, and then break 180, get above $2. Then you're looking at 230 up here, the top of the channel, and then it's the high close up here on the 18th of December as the big level to break at 260. Okay, so very nice volume spike on Friday. There was good volume behind the move. If you look at the 15-minute chart here, you can see it closed right at that middle Bollinger Band. They love doing that, so it closed right at the 50-yard line. It could go either way. If it stays above 154, then holds that 153 level, that's going to signal it's bullish. Then you want to see it break above this 170 level, and then this 175. Those are the two big levels above. If 154 fails to hold, then you could see a drop down here to the low close on Friday at 12 o'clock, 135, and then that 50 simple moving average at 130. So there's considerable, could have a considerable drop if that 153 level fails to hold. And as you can see here, that at 130, that would put it down here at EMA4 on the daily chart. Okay, let's take a look at overstock.com. Okay, ticker symbol OSTK. Keep an eye on this for a bounce. The candles have been working back into the bands. It came down here and it hit the 200-day simple moving average, currently at 41. A doji formed on Friday, and so you have this is a bounce candle during a downtrend. So we'll see if it can get a reversal here. It needs to close above EMA4 at 46. A close above EMA4 would be very bullish. The last close above that level would be back here when it was above the middle Bollinger Band, and so we're looking for that level to finally break to signal that it wants to finally get this bounce going, and then EMA8 at 48 will be the next level to break. Okay, let's look at the Overstock 15-minute chart. We can see here the big level to break is this green line. So look for a close above basically 45.83. If you can get a close above that level, that's going to be a signal that the chart's really heating up. Notice it's been failing to break, and then once it gets above this 200 and 100 simple moving average at 46.50, that's when it could really get moving. Okay, so let's look at the square chart here. So ticker symbol SQ had a really big pullback. It had been on this really strong uptrend. RSI is still at 53, so it's still in the bull zone. Fasto did drop below 50, after being up here in the power zone. It had a really strong uptrend when there was a close above the middle Bollinger Band back here in the second week of February, and then on Thursday of last week there was a close below EMA4. That's the pink line, currently at 54.16. that did signal downside risk. Now on Friday, the middle Bollinger Band was holding, currently at 52. That is the big level to hold. If that level holds, then that would signal the uptrend is intact, and this would be the reload zone. You know, we always look to reload off the middle Bollinger Band on the daily chart as long as support holds. Now, if support breaks, that could signal the possible start of a downtrend, and then the share price could drop all the way down to the 50-day simple moving average at 46.50. Okay, notice back here when it got below the middle Bollinger Band, the 50-day simple moving average was tested. Okay, back here when it got in November, it closed below the middle Bollinger Band, and then notice how it came all the way down to the 50-day simple moving average. So if this middle Bollinger Band breaks, there's you know, it's almost you know, if it turns into resistance, there's a very good chance that 50-day simple moving average is going to be tested. If it holds, that's going to be your bullish signal that it's the uptrend's still intact, and then you would be looking to reload. Now the key for re-entering is to wait for the key resistance levels to break. The first one on the chart is going to be this middle Bollinger Band. Notice how it tried to get above on Friday but failed. Once above 52, that's going to be your big clue that it's heating up. Then it has to get above the green line. That's the 50 simple moving average. Okay, and you have the 100, the 200, 300 simple moving averages all lined up right here. Once it's above that 100 at 55.62, it can really get the reversal going. But yeah, so keep an eye on 54 though. It's going to have to get above that green line, similar to how it did back here on the 20th, to really get a push going higher. You know, if it turns into resistance, that could be the top of the bounce. Okay, take a look at LFIN. This is amazing. This closed up 10% on Friday. I did put out alerts on this back here on the 12th. Okay, so I put out alerts that it had closed above the middle Bollinger Band, and look at the volume. There was no volume at all, and so you know, nobody was interested. And then I posted alerts the next day that it closed above the 50-day simple moving averages, and there was still no volume. And really, it was just not very interesting because it was $43 a share. There wasn't a whole lot of volume, but then something happened. On this day, a big volume spike happened. So check out the big volume spike. And then there was a push higher, and what happened is they loaded up at 50 and they managed to run it up to 75. So they had a nice 50% gain last week. So while the markets were all under pressure, somebody was walking this thing up, and they took it all the way up to 75. Pretty amazing. Yeah, and this was alerted at lower levels, so I highly recommend you coming and checking out our chat. As you can see here, it closed right at the key level. So you have the closing price here on the 18th of December. That's the all-time high close for LFIN. It closed right below that level on Friday. It hit that level and pulled back. So going forward, if it can close above that level, that's going to be your signal that it wants to head higher. Basically, it has to break through 75. If it fails to close above that 75 resistance zone, you know, that's going to be your signal of a temporary top. You know, because it hit the top here, pulled back to 30, and then now it's gone all the way back up to that level. Now, if it closes above 75 and it turns into support, well, it could keep moving. The all-time high is up here at 145, and so look at all the green volume bars in a row. This is a totally you know, unexpected move. I don't think a lot of people are expecting this. And then yeah, if you look here, LFIN had hardly any volume back here on the 6th through the 9th. Notice how the Bollinger Bands were super tight. Well, on the 12th, when it got above all the moving averages and the candle started writing EMA's 4 and 8 support higher above the middle Bollinger Band, the dotted purple line, that was your signal that it was in play. And notice that it stayed above the 50 simple moving average for all these days. All these days it's been bullish, and so it's just been cruising higher. And so as long as that middle Bollinger Band at 66.87 keeps holding, this uptrend is still intact. All right, notice how it's hitting the 75 zone. It's going to have to bust above that 74 level to head higher. Now, if it drops below 67, that would be a major red flag, and then it could drop down to the 50 simple moving average at 60. Once that 50 simple moving average breaks, that's when this chart will be busted, and then you could see that correction all the way back down into the 40s. Okay, let's look at SSC. All right, so this is another blockchain related stock that's heating up. Keep an eye on it. You notice how Fasto now is at 59. Keep an eye on RSI breaking above 50. That would be a signal the chart's heating up. It closed above the middle middle Bollinger Band on Thursday of last week, and then on Friday it closed above again. So that's 2 closes in a row above 173. That's the dotted purple line, the middle Bollinger Band. The last time it closed above the middle Bollinger Band was back here in the second week of January. So for the entire downtrend, there hadn't been a close above the middle Bollinger Band until last Thursday. And then with the markets getting crushed, they lost 1,000 points, and SSC was able to stay above the middle Bollinger Band. That is a really interesting sign of bullishness. You know, it's very bullish. You know, who would have thought? All right, so you know they percolated these guys. Let's see if they can hold on. If these blockchain-related stocks can keep this going. Drop below 173 would signal it's not ready to go. If it can stay above the middle Bollinger Band, keep riding EMA4. The next target's going to be the 200 and 300-day simple moving averages up here at 238 and 247, and it does look like an unfilled gap up here. So keep an eye on a potential gap fill and a run up to that 50-day simple moving average at 283. Okay, let's look at DPW. Keep an eye on this one. Closed up 5%. Keep in mind that the stock market was devastated on Thursday and Friday, and this closed up 5%. So I mean that was an interesting move for DPW. This is a very, very, very ugly chart. All right, so very similar to SSC. Look how ugly this chart was. All right, and the chart didn't get interesting until Thursday when it closed above. This entire time it was not interesting. Thursday and Friday it became interesting, and so DPW, it's the same kind of thing. You know, it's not an interesting chart right now. If they can get above this 300-day simple moving average and above the EMA 8 at 112, then it could start heating up and getting interesting. That 109 level, okay, so it's hitting the key support level. The 300-day simple moving average is the bottom support level. Usually you get a technical bounce off this level unless the chart's completely broken. And so what you'd be looking for is a run between 109 and 131. That's where the middle Bollinger Band and the 200-day simple moving average are meeting each other. They're both converging at the same level. There was a close above the middle Bollinger Band back on the 20th of February. That level failed to hold, and the downtrend continued. So what you're looking for is a close above both those levels, and that would be the signal of the possible start of a new uptrend. Okay, let's look at TEUM. All right, now this has been on a really nice uptrend. Now it started to cool down. As you can see here, it formed a doji on Friday or Thursday of last week, and so it formed it looks like the bullish or bearish Harami cross reversal pattern, and then it looks like that pattern was confirmed on Friday. And so what's going on now is it's trying to hold that EMA4 at 313. So that even though there were 2 red candles in a row, the chart's still super bullish. Notice how all the candles here have been riding EMA4 support higher. As long as that trend continues, the signals to keep riding. Now notice here there was a top in the first week of January. It pulled back, it hit the 50-day simple moving average, and then it came back and it made another top at that same level. Well, it broke above that level on Wednesday of last week, and that signal that it wanted to head higher. It hit the 130, 140 resistance zone and then pulled back. What you want to see now is it stay above $3. So this is an easy way to know whether or not TEUM is still bullish. If it stays above $3, that would be a signal that's still in play. If it drops below 3, that would make it a risk to hold. That would put it back below this previous top level, and so you want to see it stay above 3 and then a break above 330. Okay, so a drop below 3 though would put the middle Bollinger Band at 271 on deck. Okay, let's look at Kodak here. This is Eastman Kodak, ticker symbol KODK. Okay, you've got Fasto back down here below 20 at 13. You know, this thing is not going to be ready to go until that middle Bollinger Band turns into support. Notice how it closed right at that level 2 days in a row, back here 2 weeks ago, and then on Monday of last week, and it failed to get above. Basically, if you're thinking about trading Kodak and you're think about trading it long, and right now it's so sideways that it's just not a good trading stock. There's not a volume. There's no volume, and it's going sideways. And so the best thing to do when a stock is in this kind of pattern, in my opinion, is to wait for a break above resistance or below support to make your move. And so if it dropped below this $5 level, that would be your signal downside risk, and it could drop down to the 3s. and so you could be thinking of shorting there, you know, buying puts or whatever. And then if it broke above the top of this, you know, basically this middle Bollinger Band, it has to close above 530 and turn that level into support, and then get above the top of the channel at just above 550. That would be your signal that, like, okay, this is ready to finally head higher, and then you could be thinking about calls or riding for a long trade. But until then, it's in a tight sideways channel, and you could get stuck holding if you load before a break above resistance or a break below support. And so if it breaks above resistance here, then the target would be up here at the 250-day simple moving averages in that 675 resistance zone. Okay, so that's the upside potential. You know, it breaks above that, it could run up to 670, break below 5, and it could run down to 3. It's something's going to happen here soon. There's 5 red candles in a row, and it's hitting key support, and $5 has been holding. I mean, it looks like there would be a better chance of bouncing than not. Also, there's an inverted doji has formed on Friday. Look at Friday's candlestick. That is this is a what's called a gravestone doji. And so many times that does signal a bounce. I mean, you have the doji and a doji, and you know, there's lots of dojis here, and they tend to lose their significance when there's multiple dojis in a brief period of time. But nonetheless, this is a bounce candle. Okay, let's look at RIOT. Okay, this is Riot. It's been totally crushed, right? So it's been pegged below 20 on Fasto for an extended period of time. It's hitting 30 on RSI again. That's that oversold level. This is where it tends to have a technical bounce. Notice that 30 right here is where you had the 30 on RSI is where you had the bounce here, and then you've got 30 here from last week, and that's where it bounced off of the 300-day simple moving average. And so now you've got, you know, you're pushing back down towards that 30 level. It's very similar to Kodak. You've got the multiple red candles in a row. This has 4 red candles in a row, and it's hitting that 300-day simple moving average, which has been the key support level that has been holding. And so basically it has to stay above 750. If it can stay above 750, that's going to keep it holding up. It's back here in October and November. This was the key support zone. Now, if it drops below 690 and this key support zone from November, that would signal major downside risk, and you could see it drop down into the 4s. You know, that was the September resistance level. You know, it had a big break between 4 and 7, and so, you know, if those are the 2 big levels, and there wasn't a lot of trading in between, so it really needs, you know, it's trying to hold this support zone from October and November right now. That used to be resistance, now it's support. If it drops below, then it could go down to that next level, and so that would be a major red flag. And so basically, if it can hold this 765 300-day simple moving average level, this is where you look to reload. But keep in mind, loading anything or, you know, taking a long position on anything that's forming candles below EMA 4 on the daily chart is a risk. And this has been failing to get above EMA 8, so you want to wait for a break above that 807. And it has a lot of work to do. And once it gets above the 200-day simple moving average and the top of this channel at 990, that's when you could get a reversal. But yeah, this is the other thing that's the major red flag here is the volume. I mean, look at volume has just completely died. And so what you want to do is you want to look for what we saw here with LFIN. Notice how it had the super low volume, interest just faded, and then what happened? It was like once the volume came in, that's when it was ready to go. And so that's the same thing with Kodak. You know, it started to get the little volume, but it didn't happen, and it still has the really low volume. So it's in this stage of LFIN, right? And so you're looking for volume and a break above resistance. So this was below the middle Bollinger Band, low volume. Okay, break above the middle Bollinger Band, volume, break above the 50-day simple moving average, more volume, signal to ride. And so we just look for the patterns and we try to just repeat. And so you have low volume, so you have a little signal here that this is heating up, right? Because this is what we call an attention spike, and then they pulled it back again because they weren't ready to go. And so the next volume spike and a green volume spike and close above the middle Bollinger Band should be your signal that it's finally ready to go. Same thing with Riot. You've got the really low volume now, and it's going sideways. You know, well, it's trying to hold some support here, but this is where you're looking for that volume spike. And then that push through resistance, okay? And so let's look at MARA. Okay, this is another one that's just been beaten down. It's down 11% on Friday. It has that really nasty downtrend. This is more like the riot chart, and so this has had the volume. It had a couple of volume spikes here. You notice that there was this big volume head fake last week on Wednesday. It hit that middle Bollinger Band, and that was the same thing with the other volume spike on the 12th, and it hit the middle Bollinger Band, actually closed above and then pulled back. And so they keep head faking, but these are clues that it's setting up, right? And so it has to, unless this has a reverse split, it's hitting a key support zone from back here between September and December, and so it needs, it's trying to bounce off the bottom of that support zone. It needs to hold this level and then get above that 190, the middle Bollinger Band. That's when it could get the reversal going. It has a lot of moving averages to break. I would just keep an eye on it. A close above EMA 4 at 151 will be your signal that the chart is finally heating up. Okay, let's look at YTEN. Okay, this is the only one that's not Bitcoin blockchain related. I probably shouldn't even have it in this video, but I do. It's specialty chemicals. That's been a really hot sector lately, is this specialty chemical material sector, and so we are. This is set up for possible bounce. They had the spike, and then they drove it down, and now it's hitting the middle Bollinger Band and the 50-day simple moving average support zones. So if it can hold the middle Bollinger Band at 184, then this is where it could have a technical bounce. It needs to close above the 100-day simple moving average at 211. Once it finally closes above that level, that's when it could run back up to the 200-day simple moving average at 276. Really low volume. If it closes below that middle Bollinger Band at 184, that would be a major red flag, and then it will no longer be in play if it closes below that 50-day simple moving average at 175. All right, so it's trying to keep this new uptrend going, but if you look, it's back in the channel, and so you never want to see that when a stock breaks out of a channel. Okay, you don't want to see it go back into the channel, because that's just a signal that it's it failed to break out. So you have this sideways channel, it busted out of the top of it, and now it's back in the channel. So that's not good for the bulls. It could keep going sideways. It has to get above how you'll know that it's out of the channel is if it closes above the 100-day simple moving average at 211. YTN did form bullish Harami reversal pattern on Friday, and so we will be looking for a possible reversal confirmation this week. Okay, thank you very much for viewing this video. If you'd like to learn more about charts and technical analysis, please come check out our chat. I'll post the link below the YouTube video. Thank you.